That man loves me so much.
Are you joking?
He's also a fox.
What? Stop.
If you haven't noticed, my husband's very, very handsome. His heart is even more beautiful.
I get another lecture from you. I'm going to go crazy.
Oh my gosh, I work so hard.
Shut up. You're a fucking idiot.
What's the title of her show? Love Meghan. For what? To watch? Who wants to watch Meghan Markle bake a pot?
Are you in love now more than ever?
Are you in love? How happy and beautiful is your husband? He's so beautiful.
That you don't call another human being Your Highness?
Meghan Markle, the only thing she found was a rich, famous husband.
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird. It's ridiculous.
My castle's too small. Yeah. The queen is mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm going to put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
The nearest thing Meghan Markle ever had to $1 billion idea was marrying a prince.
There's nothing I like about her. Well, she never stops whining.
But to the world, it's just, what has she been doing? Does she work? As opposed to, oh my gosh, I work so hard. And I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard.
The beginning of that clip where she's like, oh my God. It's so inauthentic.
The woman who destroyed her in-laws' family, whose own family doesn't like her, whose the in-laws obviously don't like her, the public doesn't like her.
When the conversation gets rewritten and looked at from a wider lens, the same burning question keeps coming back louder than ever. What exactly is Meghan Markle in the public eye right now? The so-called Duchess of Drama, or someone wildly misunderstood by constant media pressure and non-stop online noise? And when people break down that emotional, tear-filled podcast appearance,
his heart is even more beautiful. I mean,
but his heart is even more beautiful. This is so forced.
And Meghan's just accepting all these compliments. I know I'm great, aren't I?
the debate only gets more intense. Did that moment actually repair her public image in any meaningful way? Or did it just trigger another wave of backlash, criticism, and online over-analysis? Some viewers saw vulnerability, others saw performance under a spotlight, and the internet just kept dissecting every second of it without pause. And right there in the middle of it all, a side observation kept popping up everywhere, people questioning the energy and tone of host Jamie Kern-Lima, with some saying something about the interaction just felt off, like the vibe didn't fully match the emotional framing of the episode. But that's only scratching the surface of a much bigger digital storm that refuses to settle down. The internet absolutely tore into Meghan after her inclusion on Time magazine's top 100 most influential women list, turning what should have been a major recognition moment into another battlefield of opinions and sarcasm flying everywhere. Critics online didn't just question the selection. They challenged the meaning behind it, the timing, and even the definition of influence itself in today's media-driven world. And right alongside that controversy, Prince Harry's BBC interview dropped into the conversation like gasoline on fire. The reaction was immediate and intense, with many calling the interview awkward, emotionally heavy, and difficult to watch without second-guessing every statement being made. Critics described it as one of those moments where public perception and personal narrative completely collide in real time, leaving viewers split between sympathy and frustration. This is where things shift into even more complicated territory behind the scenes. Whispers from former staffers and insiders.
Meghan Markle is now accused of breaking the agreement with the late Queen after podcast revelation, with the compliments of HRH, which is Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex.
Made homemade strawberry jam. It's kind of like a doctor when you keep referring to them as doctor and like, call me Susan. You know, like I would never refer to myself as Her Royal Highness.
I think if somebody gives you a gift, you can say, you know, so-and-so, my friend so-and-so gave me a present. Yeah. I don't feel like she needed to show.
Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, in her first ever podcast interview.
She's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout, you know, and like she's completely camera ready.
Have been circulating for a while, painting a messy and highly debated picture of Meghan's working environment and personality. Some of these claims, often amplified online, frame her in a very harsh light, more controlling or difficult rather than the polished, composed public figure she often presents during interviews and appearances. Add to that the reported cancellation of her Spotify deal, the mixed reception of her Netflix projects, and ongoing rumors about her professional direction, and suddenly the narrative becomes even more unstable and unpredictable. In the middle of all this speculation, some voices even argue she should stop signing items or messages as Her Royal Highness, claiming it only fuels confusion and keeps her tied to a royal identity she has publicly stepped away from in different ways. Meghan Markle's latest podcast appearance was heavily promoted as something stripped down and authentic. No makeup, no script, just a raw, honest conversation where she was supposed to open up and share her truth in a natural way. The expectation was realness, emotional honesty, and a behind-the-scenes look at her life away from headlines. But once the episode went live, the reaction split almost instantly.
She's stuck because she was an actress who became a real princess, who wants to be an actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real princess.
I love that your eyes are sparkling right now.
Oh.
Oh my God. Dan, I threw up in my mouth.
Yes.
When I was reviewing her website in real time, doing my video, it said coming soon. But then, like 5 minutes later, we see that she put sold out.
So I created for the kids these email addresses that sort of like names again that you would never guess that I will give them at some point in their lives when they're older. But before I go to bed almost every night.
To many viewers, it didn't feel raw at all. It felt structured, carefully delivered, and highly controlled despite the emotional framing. Some critics even exaggerated comparisons online, suggesting that other bold public claims from celebrities might feel more spontaneous than this carefully packaged version of vulnerability. And then there's the host, Jamie Kern-Lima, a close friend of Meghan, who spent a significant portion of the episode praising her, reinforcing her points, and guiding the tone in a way that some viewers interpreted as overly supportive rather than neutral. That dynamic alone sparked more discussion than expected because audiences started questioning whether the conversation was truly open or gently shaped from the inside. At the end of the day, the biggest question wasn't just about emotion, it was about what was actually revealed. Critics argued that not much new information came out at all. Instead, they saw a familiar pattern where personal storytelling and brand identity overlap, making it difficult to separate genuine moments from strategic messaging. Still, on the surface level, things looked successful in certain measurable ways. Reports claimed her product sold out within just 30 minutes of launch.
There are times we get together and I'm like, I just want to have DoorDash come in. And you're like, let's make some. And I'm like,
no, I don't want to cook again, Meghan. My God, take a break.
Look at that face. She's not happy.
Oh, yeah, it's so hard to be pretty. So your life is so hard. You're a fucking princess. I wonder how hard it is to be Cinderella when you look like the fucking step witch's mother. That's a character you didn't even know about. I didn't even know you were black.
And she also is pretending that she's crying. We zoomed in just to see. There isn't a tear in sight. Dan, look at this. I invite the viewers to take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear?
Which supporters immediately highlighted as proof of strong influence and demand. But skeptics quickly pushed back, pointing out that the initial stock quantity was limited, suggesting that scarcity itself may have been part of the strategy rather than pure organic demand. During the episode, Meghan also spoke about her as-ever brand and motherhood experience, sharing that she writes nightly emails to her 2 children every single night without fail. That detail spread fast across social media, with audiences reacting in completely different directions, some finding it deeply touching, while others questioned how relatable or realistic it truly felt in everyday life. If you look at the way it circulated online, it definitely had impact. Clips from the episode flooded TikTok, Instagram, and other platforms, turning short emotional moments into viral discussion points almost instantly. Jamie Kern-Lima described the episode as raw and honest, But even that framing didn't stop skeptics from questioning the authenticity of what they were seeing. And here's another detail that made people raise eyebrows even more. Jamie repeatedly emphasized that Meghan did not see the interview questions beforehand. Instead of calming suspicion, that detail had the opposite effect for some viewers, who started wondering why it needed to be highlighted so strongly in the first place. Was it reassurance, or was it part of shaping perception? Online reactions quickly turned sharp and divided. A widely circulated quote on X referenced a controversial comment, "I didn't even know you were black," which was shared in the context of online debates and media reactions. Meanwhile, critics like those from the Daily Mail and other outlets dismissed Meghan's emotional moments as overly polished, suggesting they were designed more for public engagement than spontaneous expression. Social media users jumped in fast, with some mocking the emotional delivery style, claiming even her vulnerability appeared PR polished and carefully managed. Others argued that everything, from tone to timing, felt too controlled to be fully natural. At the same time, several reports noted that critics felt her storytelling consistently returned to personal branding and business positioning rather than broader topics or deeper public issues. Royal commentators and insiders, as reported in various outlets like The Express, suggested that emotional rebranding alone might not be enough to significantly shift long-term public perception at this stage. Her appearance at the Time 100 summit added yet another layer of controversy to the ongoing discussion. The event itself sparked debate online, with users questioning selection choices and influence criteria in modern celebrity culture. Some even compared the overall atmosphere of these high-profile events, asking who genuinely fits into these influential spaces and who is simply being positioned there by media relevance. Meghan's inclusion, even without being on the final 2025 list in some discussions, still generated strong reactions online. Critics on X labelled the attention around her appearance as exaggerated, pointing to her business ventures like jam, honey, and cupcake sprinkles as examples of products they didn't consider major cultural impact achievements. One commenter sarcastically questioned the framing of her influence, while another contrasted her presence with figures like Gayle King, saying real-world impact looks very different depending on the person and their accomplishments. GB News and similar outlets also quoted critics who labelled her a self-promoter, arguing that she continues to rely heavily on her royal association despite publicly stepping into a different life and career path. And, with her influence constantly under review, the time nod turned into another debate point rather than a simple recognition moment. Meanwhile, Prince Harry's BBC interview brought a whole new wave of attention back into the picture. In the interview, he spoke about King Charles and raised concerns regarding security decisions following a court appeal loss, adding more emotional weight to an already sensitive situation. But instead of receiving widespread sympathy, the reaction was heavily mixed. Columnist Sarah Vine described his tone as overly self-focused, even suggesting that parts of the interview felt like they were framed through personal grievance rather than resolution. Other media insiders, as reported by ITV News, described the timing and tone as poorly judged and potentially damaging to already fragile family dynamics. Reports from the Mirror suggested that King Charles has become more cautious, allegedly concerned that private conversations could be later turned into public revelations, adding another layer of tension to already strained relationships. On social media, reactions were extremely divided, with many users criticizing Harry as entitled and framing the interview as another emotional escalation rather than constructive dialogue. One viral comment summed it up bluntly as a royal pity party, reflecting how strongly opinions had hardened online. The fallout didn't stay isolated with Harry either. Meghan's name quickly re-entered the conversation as critics linked both narratives together once again. Some commentators argued that Harry's interview wasn't just about security concerns, it was another chapter in an ongoing public grievance storyline that continues to follow both of them across media cycles. And right as that discussion peaked again, familiar accusations resurfaced, including harsh commentary from Meghan Kelly, who straight up called her a malignant narcissist. When the discussion shifts toward Meghan Markle's podcast and all the surrounding media noise, the criticism doesn't just stay in one lane anymore. It spreads across journalism, social media, and public commentary like wildfire, pulling in different opinions, interpretations, and strong emotional reactions from all sides. While the Telegraph's Celia Walden described Meghan's podcast as little more than a self-focused therapy session, that statement quickly became fuel for even more debate online. People started dissecting what that really meant in the broader context of celebrity interviews, especially when emotional storytelling is now a core part of modern media branding. And then Page Six dropped another claim that's immediately sparked controversy across platforms. Reports suggested that wellness brands like Goop have allegedly passed on working with Meghan, reportedly viewing her as too polarizing for their brand identity and audience strategy. That detail alone triggered intense discussion about how celebrity influence is measured today and whether public perception outweighs actual business potential. But what really took over social media wasn't just the brand talk, it was the emotional pattern people claimed to notice. Every time Meghan appears emotional, shedding tears or sharing personal experiences, critics argue it feels less like spontaneous vulnerability and more like a structured performance designed to create impact and engagement. That idea started spreading fast online, with users saying the emotional delivery is becoming predictable, almost formulaic in how it unfolds. Instead of feeling raw or unpredictable, some viewers believe it follows a familiar rhythm that makes each moment feel pre-planned rather than naturally unfolding. Then attention quickly shifted to podcast host Jamie Kern-Limmer, who suddenly became a major talking point after her appearance alongside Meghan. What was originally meant to be a supportive, meaningful conversation turned into a full-scale debate about tone, hosting style, and perceived authenticity. Many viewers weren't impressed at all. Some felt her delivery was overly enthusiastic, almost forced, like she was emphasizing praise rather than engaging in a balanced exchange. That perception spread quickly across YouTube and social platforms where clips were being replayed and analyzed repeatedly. One YouTube commentator known as the Royal Rogue openly criticized her tone, calling it exaggerated and artificial. He pointed out that her voice came across as overly high-pitched during key emotional moments, which he argued made the entire interaction feel less natural and more performative. He didn't stop there either. He suggested that her energy felt more like a cheerleader for hire than a neutral podcast host trying to guide a genuine conversation. That phrase quickly caught traction online because it summed up what a lot of viewers were already sensing, but couldn't quite articulate. He also noted that she seemed to echo Meghan's statements without much pushback, reinforcing the idea that the conversation lacked balance or critical depth. Even The Independent's Rose Lanigan added to the criticism, saying Jamie Kern-Limmer's constant gushing made the episode feel less like a podcast and more like a late-night infomercial. That comparison resonated strongly because it suggested the entire tone leaned more toward promotion than genuine dialogue. On X, users were quick to jump in, pointing out that the episode didn't feel like a natural conversation at all. Many described it as a Meghan Markle hype session, arguing that the structure of the episode felt more like image reinforcement than open discussion. And here's where the irony becomes even more noticeable for critics. Jamie Kern-Limmer is not an inexperienced voice in business or media. She successfully built and sold a company for $1 billion. That level of achievement made many viewers question why someone with that background would adopt such an overwhelmingly supportive tone during an interview that was already under public scrutiny. People started asking a very direct question online. Why would someone with that kind of business intelligence and media awareness spend her platform time reinforcing praise rather than offering deeper insights, challenges, or balanced perspectives? Instead of feeling like an insightful, layered conversation, many listeners said the episode felt like an extended monologue centered around admiration, emotional storytelling, and brand alignment rather than structured journalism or probing dialogue. And this is where the conversation expands beyond just one podcast episode, because this reaction isn't isolated. It ties into a much larger ongoing public debate about Meghan and Harry's media presence as a whole. Whether it's Meghan's emotional podcast appearances or Prince Harry's intense BBC interviews, the same question keeps resurfacing across platforms, comment sections, and media analysis. Are they genuinely speaking their truth in an open and vulnerable way? Or are they strategically shaping emotional narratives as part of a broader personal branding approach? That question doesn't have a simple answer, which is exactly why the debate keeps growing instead of fading away. At the same time, critics point to a wider pattern that includes media appearances, past controversies, former staff rumours, and ongoing public scrutiny. They argue that every new project or interview seems to follow a similar emotional structure that quickly becomes part of a larger narrative cycle. From that perspective, everything, from tearful interviews to brand launches, feeds into a consistent storytelling approach where emotion, visibility, and branding overlap heavily. On the other side, supporters strongly reject that interpretation. They argue that Meghan and Harry are simply reclaiming control of their own story after years of intense public pressure, media criticism, and institutional constraints. In their view, what critics label as performance is actually long overdue expression and personal storytelling finally being shared without restriction. But regardless of which side people take, one thing is very clear in the current media environment: skepticism is dominating much of the online conversation. People are constantly analyzing tone, facial expressions, phrasing, timing, and emotional delivery. Every clip gets broken down, replayed, and reinterpreted across different platforms, turning even small moments into full-scale debates about authenticity and intent. And that creates a unique modern situation where nothing stays simple anymore. Everything becomes layered with interpretation, commentary, and competing narratives almost instantly. Then the conversation expands again, pulling in Meghan's broader public journey, including recognition moments like Time magazine features, business ventures, and ongoing media attention that continues to evolve over time. All of these elements get absorbed into one larger narrative ecosystem, where every appearance adds another layer of meaning, depending on who is watching and how they interpret it. Critics often frame Meghan and Harry as a highly strategic, public-facing duo who understand how emotional storytelling drives attention, engagement, and long-term media presence. Supporters, however, push back strongly and argue that this framing ignores the human side of constant scrutiny and oversimplifies their lived experience under global attention. And that tension between perception and intention is exactly what keeps this entire discussion alive and constantly evolving. Because in the end, the internet rarely agrees on a single narrative anymore. It fragments into multiple interpretations that all exist at the same time. So the question remains open and continues to circulate. Are Meghan and Harry truly speaking their truth? Or are we witnessing a carefully structured masterclass in modern personal branding disguised as emotional transparency? And maybe the most complicated part is that both interpretations continue to coexist, depending on who is watching, how they feel, and what they choose to believe in the moment. Every new interview, every podcast clip, every emotional moment only adds more fuel to a conversation that never fully settles, always shifting into new angles, new reactions, and new debates. And as long as that continues, audiences will keep analyzing, reacting, and questioning every move they make in real time, turning each appearance into another chapter of an ongoing public narrative that never truly ends. If you've got thoughts on all of this, drop them in the comments, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you stay updated, because this conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon, and the internet definitely isn't done talking about it.